Hello, viewers. Do you know fundamental human rights? You have heard so much about fundamental human rights enshrined in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. As you always know, we take it as our responsibility to ensure you are educated, you are enlightened about the issue of law. So today's video is dedicated about teaching you the fundamental human rights. What are these rights? How do I know my rights are infringed? How do I enforce them? And what do I expect from the court in an attempt to enforce my right? This is what we will be discussing with you. Don't forget, if this is your first time seeing our video, kindly subscribe to our channel, hit the notification button and share our videos. We assure you there are a lot for you to learn. My name is Ishaku Joseph Shirme, your favorite lawyer. Today, in discussing the fundamental human rights, we decided to bring on board one of our finest brain in the legal profession to tell you what you need to know all and what you need to understand about fundamental human rights. He is here with us today and you will hear from him. I assure you there is a lot to learn. So, our learned brother, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
So we would like you to just introduce yourself and then proceed to tell us what we need to know about fundamental human rights.
All right, viewers, it's a privilege to be here. I must say, first of all, that this channel is a very good job, taking our time to educate the community and the society at large about their laws, their rights, and everything they need to know about basic laws. Now, my name is Olatunde Alabi. I'm a legal practitioner. I practice here in Abuja and every other state in its environment. Today, we are going to be talking about fundamental human rights. Now, there's something that's called the Grundlaw, which is the highest law of the land in our so dear country, Nigeria. It is called the Grundlaw because it is the number one law, and every other law that clashes with this law will be rendered null and void. So, of course, what will you do? It's the best thing you can do is to have a copy of this book called the 1999 Constitution as amended in 2011 that enshrines all your rights. And the drafters of this constitution have taken out time to create a particular chapter just for fundamental human rights, and that's to tell us how important these rights are. Today, we'll be talking about the rights. There are 11 of them. We would number them from 1 to 11, and as we do that, we try to analyze it so that you can have a better understanding of what these rights are. So follow me as we analyze these rights. So the first right we'll be talking about today, which I will tag as right number 1, is right to life. Right to life is number 1 on the list of our fundamental human rights today. And I'm going to read word for word what the Constitution says. So follow me as I read word for word. Every person has a right to life, and no one shall be deprived intentionally of his life, save in execution of the sentence of a court, in respect of a criminal offense of which he has been found guilty in Nigeria. What is the implication of this? You have the right to be existing. You have the right for your life to be preserved by anybody in Nigeria, meaning nobody can take your life. The funny thing is you cannot even take your own life. So the right of your own life cannot even be seized by yourself. Now, there is an exception to this rule, which the Constitution has already analyzed for us, and it says the only time you would lose your right to life is when you have been sentenced to death by a competent court of competent jurisdiction in Nigeria.
So just to be sure that we get what you are saying,
Okay.
So you mean this issue of life is clearly provided for in the Constitution?
It is clearly.
That am I right? My life is secured, is sacred, and that even how my life should be taken has been provided for.
Exactly.
So anything outside this is illegal, is unlawful, and is not accepted by the Constitution.
Exactly. It is
Interesting. Nobody should infringe on your right. The part that interests me the most is where he said, not even a father can take the life of his son. Not even the mother, not even a husband, the life of his wife, or the wife, the life of her husband. It's a sacred right protected by the Constitution. I'm sure there are more rights you want to talk about.
Of course, which I'll call right number 2. And that is right to dignity of human person. I'll take it again. Right to dignity of human person. Right number 2. Now follow me as I tell you what the Constitution says about this right. Every individual is entitled to respect for the dignity of his person and accordingly. Now we have some further parts of section 34, which is our second right that we're treating today, and it further analyzes what this right of dignity of human persons entails. Now it says, no person shall be subjected to torture or to inhuman or degrading treatment. You must not violate this right by torturing anybody or subjecting them to any human degrading treatment. Secondly, no person shall be held in slavery or servitude. Slavery is not something you can try because these rights have already protected everybody from them. And finally, no person shall be required to perform forced or compulsory labor. We see also this in the course of slavery, and it is totally prohibited for you to do to any other person. The third right. Right number 3. What is right number 3? Right to personal liberty. What is liberty? Liberty is like freedom. Liberty is like ability to do what you like, of course, within the bounds of law. You as a Nigerian citizen is guaranteed with that right. You are free to do what you want. And if anybody tramples on that your freedom to liberty as a human being, your fundamental human rights have been infringed. Let's move on to the next one. Right number 4. What is right number 4? Right to fair hearing. Right to fair hearing. You must be heard. That's what it means. If anybody alleges that you have committed a crime, you have a right to defend yourself. You have a right to state your own side of the story. You have a right to counter what the person has alleged against you. And that's why you hear something called defense counsel, plaintiff counsel, prosecutor, and what have you. What it means is you can even get a lawyer to represent you and air your own side of the story. And the court, of course, before any judgment is given, will take a look at every side of the case. And what is enshrined is that your right to fair hearing must be considered by the court of law before a judgment or a verdict is reached. I'm sure you understand what that means with this analysis so far. If you're watching this and you're enjoying this, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video to those you know who want to learn about their rights and understand these basic entitlements that the Constitution has given us. So let's move on to right number 5. What is right number 5? Right to private and family life. Right to private and family life. And that's why you see we have families and we have what is called homes today. People will tell you, I'm going home. And that's because you have a right to own a home. You have a right to own a house. You have a right to privacy. And that's why you hear them say, we're having a family meeting today. It's for family members only. It sounds very simple, but it is a right enshrined in the Constitution, and it is our 5th right that we have spoken about today. I'm going to re-echo it again. It's called right to private life and family life. People also have a right to, I'm sure this part is interesting to so many people, your right to privacy, because it's right to private life and privacy. Privacy here refers to your own personal information. For instance, your phone. You have a right to the contents of your phone for yourself alone. Now, for those of you who go about snooping into people's phone, checking their phones, either their partners or not, you are infringing their rights. This is so casual, and many of us do it, but it is wrong. Please bear in mind that if someone were to take it up, it would be that you have infringed on the person's privacy, which is their phones, their documents, or whatever property they have that they have decided to keep private. Let's move on to the next right. Right number 6. What is right number 6 under section 38? Right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. Right to freedom of thoughts, thinking, conscience, and religion. This is something we enjoy very well in the country today. And of course, we can see this. On Sundays, we have many Christians gather and go to church. On Fridays, you have many Muslims go for Jummah prayers. Traditionalists also do their own on days that they decided to worship their gods. This is because every Nigerian citizen is entitled to this right, these beliefs, this conscience, and this religion. So feel free to enjoy it. If you have an intention to restrict somebody from exercising their religion, their conscience, their thoughts, you are infringing on their own fundamental human rights. Let's move on with the rights. The next right we'll be having is right number 7. And what is right number 7? Right to freedom of expression and the press. Many of us have our favorite channels that we watch nowadays, and that's because we love the way the channel provides us with information and our daily news. And the question is, why do you think that is happening? It's because they enjoy this right as enshrined by the Constitution. Freedom of the press. The press will tell you today that the president has done this, a Nigerian politician has done this has happened in so community, this has happened in that community, and that's because they have that freedom to go there, cover whatever is happening, and share it to the public at large. They are enjoying this right today as we see in Nigeria, and most of us, of course, we observe it. Now, freedom also of expression. You have a right to express your own opinion. And that's why you watch some of these television programs also, which is also our reference initially, where people will go and they'll ask them, so what do you think about so thing? Or you go to some shows and podcasts and the rest of them, and people are free to air it. Even though they get some backlash at times, it is that they have expressed that right that they are entitled to. They are entitled to those opinions. They are entitled to those expressions, and you cannot take it away from them. So the next right on our list is right number 8, and right number 8 is right to peaceful assembly and association. Many of us belong to NGOs, clubs, churches, mosques, and even traditional or cultural associations where we meet with people of like minds and we set out goals and objectives for ourselves. Some of us even go to places like the Motherless Babies Home, the IDP camps, just to render some form of help, service to humanity to them. These are rights that we exercise which have been enshrined by the Constitution, and you should know when you do that, you are enjoying that fundamental human rights. I'd like to move this rights now to my learned friend, right, like Ishaku, because we still have right 9, right 10, right 11, and it would be nice for us to hear his own opinion about some of these rights. So, Vice Joe, I pass you to tell our listeners right number 9.
We pick up from right number 9. Right number 9 is freedom of movement. The provision of the Constitution has guaranteed your right to move free within the territory of Nigeria. That is why you have never had anybody seeking for visa to move from Edo to Kaduna or from Borno State to Lagos. You have the freedom to move as a Nigerian. However, where your right starts and ends, another person's right starts from there. That is why you cannot, on the guise of freedom of movement, just bug into my house, step into another person's compound and say, you are a Nigerian, you can move anywhere. No, that is not allowed. You have your right and the other person also has his right. Now, the right number 10 that you need to understand is right against discrimination. The Constitution provided that no person should be discriminated against based on the issue of gender, religion, association, or any form. And this right is covered everywhere, both in families, in organizations, in any way you find yourself. The Constitution says you should not, for any reason, be discriminated against such things. I want to have the presumption that the intention of the draft writers is because your sex, your religion, your where you come from, all these are largely not things you actively participated in becoming who you are. So this right is guaranteed. Nobody should discriminate against you because of any of this. If you are facing this discrimination, it is an infringement of your rights. Know this and know that there is an action that you can take. Now, to take you to the last but not the least, the right number 11. Everybody in Nigeria has the right to own movable and immovable property. Immovable property, largely real estate. It is your right. You don't need the consent of your governor, the consent of your local government chairman, or the consent of the president before you will be allowed to own a land. No. If you have the resources, it is your right to own property, movable and immovable, anywhere in Nigeria. Nobody should discriminate against you. If anybody say you cannot acquire land in Edo because you are from Borno, or you cannot buy land in Yobe because you are from Plateau State, no. That will be an infringement of your right. So our focus, like you see, is for you to be able to understand the rights, to you to be able to understand the provisions of the Constitution. The Constitution is the ground norm and has provided for these rights for you. You may be there listening to us and you say, well, what are these lawyers talking about? And then, from what they have said, that means my right has been infringed upon. So what should I do? Our education is not a halfway education. We will take you through what you need to do if you, by this teaching, you are able to understand that somebody is infringing on your right. If you are the one infringing on the person's right, retreat. Kindly stop, because you are against the provision of the Constitution. But the question is, if I have listened to you and I'm the one whose right is being infringed upon, is there any step that such person can take? Or should I just sit down and say, hey, yeah, now I've realized my right has been infringed upon? Is there anything I can do?
All right, so to start with, on the night of the when you see the last right 11, right to own a movable property, what came to my mind was some properties now are movable. We have container houses. So the question is, will people say these houses are not protected under the right? Either your house is a container house, or the one that is built affixed to the ground, it is protected by the Constitution. You have a right to own it, both movable and immovable properties. So now, to the question, when these rights that we have analyzed, 11 of them have been infringed on, what are you supposed to do? What do you do? What is the next course of action? And that's why there's something called the FREP. It's called FREP. It's called the Fundamental Rights Enforcement Procedure Rules. This is a guideline to enforce this right that you are enjoying as a citizen of the country. Now, basically, what you're supposed to do is to meet a lawyer, get legal advice, tell them your story, tell them how you feel these rights have been trampled on. Now that you know them, most importantly, you can just tell them, I watched this video and right number 4, right number 5, right number this was infringed on. Lawyer, what do I do? And the lawyer would advise you appropriately. So we're advising you to consult a lawyer whenever you feel any of these rights have been trampled on. And your lawyer will know the course of action to take with respect to these your rights that have been infringed on. And trust me, they would get good results from consulting a lawyer to handle their affairs. I think I'll bring it to a stop here. And if you've enjoyed this video so far, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, and show this video to people that would benefit also from it. Knowing your right does not stop with you. Let people also know their rights, just as we played today. So, by extension.
Don't forget to talk to a lawyer. Lawyers are your friends. They will guide you. They will keep you out of trouble, and they can also bring you out of trouble. We'll see you in our next video, where we'll again bring you interesting topic to make sure you are enlightened. Thank you.